Hello everyone, welcome back to the Undercut, and today we're going to be talking about Alpine and the recent news that apparently they potentially might be taken over by Formula 4, 3 and 2 feature team High-Tech. And we're going to give our thoughts on it. What is the most likely outcome in our opinion based on the history of Formula 1, how it usually goes, and obviously in light of the recent Mercedes partnership that Alpine have now gotten for the 2025 season onwards. So, Jack, what do you think about this?
It's interesting, really, isn't it? Obviously, the Mercedes news coming out that they will power Alpine from 2025 onwards is a big hint towards the high-tech takeover, potentially. Obviously, they wanted to become a new team along with Andretti when they were one of the teams that put in the application for it. They got rejected. Their new way to possibly get in is by taking over a team that's already in there. And with Alpine / Renault straying away from their own engine and going to Mercedes engine, is that a little hint that it's coming in the next few years?
I think it is, because it was around Belgium time that both of those rumours came out at the same time. That apparently Alpine wanted to go to Mercedes engines for next year, and it was because Renault want to sell, or eventually want to sell, their works team. Remember, at this moment in time, Alpine is a works team. It is Renault.
Yeah.
It is a Renault works team. So it's, and Alpine wants to stray away from that. Renault want to sell it, and all these rumours were coming out, and the rumours were that because Oliver Oakes had replaced Mr. Bruno mid-season, God, what a controversial figure he was, that Oliver Oakes, obviously having the high-tech connection, being the team principal from Formula 2, they wanted to come in, and high-tech were going to be the ones that were going to buy them. And all these rumours are coming out at the same time. Obviously, also as well, we have to consider high-tech are powered by Mercedes in Formula 2. Mercedes engines. Yes. So, it all just lined up. And now, obviously, the Mercedes news came out, and we've got more high-tech rumours, more leaks that apparently high-tech are putting in a bid to buy the Alpine team. You know what? I'm very speculative most of the time on these types of rumors, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say I think this is pretty spot on, and I think this will happen. I think I can just see it happening.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I thought as soon as I heard it from Belgium, I thought this is something that could move quite quick in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
In terms of, I think this is the exit route for Alpine now. Obviously, First thing to go is the engine. It'll just keep going. You'll see people leaving, and then it'll just keep going on that train. And before we know it, high-tech will become the 10th team in Formula 1. And I'm not mad at it. It would be sad to see Alpine go. Obviously, works team, Renault, it's got the history in there in Formula 1.
Yep.
So, it's sad, but it's exciting for high-tech. Obviously, in all of the junior formulas, F2, F3, F4, doing decent in them all. And Oliver Oakes is young, up and coming, and seems like a good manager.
Yeah, it all lined up. It was the Oliver Oakes thing. It was the Mercedes thing. It was the Alpine wanting to distance themselves. Obviously, they've been put under new management now. Flavio Briatore has come back in.
Yeah.
It's all very much heading in a fresh direction. So it very much seems like that's the case. This for me has there's two sides. I'm very on the fence with this, because on one hand, I'm kind of like, I understand why Formula 1 are protecting the 10 teams, because of the revenue split. Means we'll probably get more quality in a more compact area of cars. But at the same time, not allowing 11 or 12 teams to compete on the grid, I just think it's a bit sad. I mean, imagine how cool it would be. Like you mentioned, the history's there with Renault. They've won championships, drivers and constructors. That's a historic Formula One team as far as Formula One's concerned. So why not have Renault, obviously named Alpine, then have High-Tech and Andretti? Why not?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you why not. I mean, I was one of the ones that wanted an 11th team, wanted a 12th team. 22, 24 drivers on that grid. It just gets a bit more spicy. Obviously, it would have its complications with the point system. Would we see if we have 22 drivers, your point system would go up to, I don't know, is it top 11, 24, top 12? I don't know. Would the point system then have to change if you bring more people in as well? Obviously, the existing teams get a vote on whether another team come in as well. So, will existing teams want someone else to come in? Because you got to think it's part of their revenue, part of their money, part of what comes into them at the end of the season would get taken away. There's more of a split with more teams. Selfish. But I want more teams. But I'm not mad at it still being 10 though. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I mean, we saw the thing is, I get why, because on one hand, when you have 10 teams, there is a more equal share of the revenue part at the end of the season. We've just heard as well that Alpine making 3 places in the Constructors' Championship in one race was worth $50 million.
Yeah.
Right? So, but the issue is, that was because they went from 9th to 6th. Now, if you go from 12th to 10th, it's probably only like 5 million because there's that much more of a split. So it wouldn't be as significant to move up in the constructors based on there being 12 teams. So I understand why they want 10 teams. It probably keeps it more competitive. It keeps it more compact. The cars are likely more to be closer in performance. We saw through the years 2010 to 2012, when we had 24 drivers, we had 12 teams, the gap that there was between the back markers, especially Hispania, HRT, and the Red Bull. And that's why literally it got that bad to the point where F1 had to introduce the 7-second rule, which still exists today, but it hasn't been used since then, which is, a lot of F1 fans won't know this is a thing, but the 7-second rule essentially was brought in because Hispania were that slow that they were 7 seconds slower than the pole time, and if you are 7 seconds slower over, you do not qualify for the race. It's simple as that. So this is literally one of the downsides of having 12 teams, is you'll have such a performance split because the gap in revenue is now spread, and there's a chance that potentially you might not be able to meet the cost cap. It just keeps everything more compact. Obviously, on the other side of things, it gives more opportunities for more drivers. When there was 24 spots available, we had the likes of Jules Bianchi, who got a chance. We had, if we remember, Esteban Ocon getting a chance at Manor. We had Daniel Ricciardo getting a chance at Hispania. None of these drivers, Pascal Wehrlein, none of these drivers would have been given chances if it was only 10 teams. So we think, oh my God, those are some big names in Formula One over the last few years. Think Daniel Ricciardo, and even in different categories, Pascal Wehrlein, Lucas de Grassi was another one, right?
Yeah.
Van Dorn, right?
Well,
wait, no, Van Dorn. No,
Van Dorn came into.
Van Dorn came in McLaren, didn't he? No.
Still,
they were
still at the back.
McLaren were at the back at the time, but but yeah. So all of these drivers. So there is upsides, but there is definitely downsides.
There's always going to be downsides. I think, unfortunately, we're at a point where everything in Formula One is dictated by money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for other teams now, it makes no sense bringing in an 11th or a 12th team.
No.
So the only way for a new team to come in is for a team like Alpine, who don't want to be there anymore, is to slowly integrate out and bring in new, young, fresh blood in High-Tech.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Another team that could do the similar in not in the not too distant future, maybe Haas might go as well.
Yeah.
So I'd keep an eye out for that. Haas, Andretti, Alpine, High Tech. I won't be surprised within the next 10 years that happens.
Obviously, now Haas are going to become Toyota Haas next year. So I don't think it would happen for another few years, but almost certainly, I was going to agree. Like, I think if the only way we do see High Tech and Andretti is if they replace Haas and Alpine, realistically. So obviously, Sauber is now being bought out by Audi, and I don't see any of the other teams caving in. So
no,
it's
you're
more
not
than
going to
likely
see
them.
McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, V-Carb.
But they're owned by Red Bull, so obviously not. Yeah. So
Yeah, then
Williams
5.
won't go.
Williams won't go.
No.
So them 6, you don't see caving in anytime soon, really.
No.
So you always get them. Obviously, Haas and, as we know now, Alpine. You would have thought they were a surefire bet to stay in Formula One, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would.
So it's interesting. It's interesting to see what's going to happen. Obviously, rumours don't come from nowhere.
No.
So I think we just got to watch this space in the next couple of years and see what happens with Alpine now.
That's my final question, actually, for you, Mr. Jack. When do you think, what year, do you reckon this happens, if it happens at all?
If it is to happen, 2028, High Tech will be a team.
2028?
Yeah, I think Alpine will stay in. Obviously, they are staying in next year's Mercedes engine. I think, what is their contract, 3 year?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's 3 years. So that's 2025, 2026, 2027.
Right. So your logic is when this contract ends, they sell the team, and then the new owners of the team can choose what engine supplier they have. Which, I mean, by the sounds of it,
it will be Mercedes still.
It'll probably still be Mercedes. I'm gonna say, actually, I think it could be as early as 26, just because only because I think I understand that, and obviously you don't, they might see out their contract, but also I think Alpine, Renault will go, I don't want to build a new car. I don't want to go to these new regulations. Don't want to, because that's so much investment. I think they'll go, okay, this is a good place to park it. Let's hand it over.
I can see that. The only thing that deters me from that is I would have thought that if that was a thing, High Tech themselves would be pushing for it to be next year. Like Audi have made it next year. Because we thought that Audi was going to be 2026, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, initially.
Audi have made it into 2025. A year in Formula 1 before the new regs makes sense.
Yeah.
New team, new regs, straight off the bat. It's either going to go one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, luckily it will be the same personnel, but yeah, you got to think.
That's what makes me think that Alpine would carry on, because you would think that most of the personnel there, so they wouldn't mind building the car, because at least they've got a background, they've got data, they've got everything there ready for the new teams to come in.
Yeah, but it's Renault's investment. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
I think Renault are probably thinking, we don't want this now. Well, we might as well get out while we can.
It could either be 2026 or midway through the next regulations.
Yeah. And I think as well, it's a shame to say this, but I think if they are selling, if they do want to sell, I think we could probably see a stake happen to them. Because it's quite clear that Sauber have just completely stopped investing in that car.
Yeah, they don't care.
And that's because they're getting bought out. So I think the same would probably happen with Alpine. Probably.
Yeah, potentially come to the end of their little run. That'll be it, won't it?
Yeah. But anyway, let us know in the comments below. Will High Tech buy out Alpine, and is this Mercedes connection, is the Oliver Oates connection got any weight to it? Do you think it will happen? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next week.